The jungle world of Arath.
9 was a symphony of danger.
Its massive bioluminescent flora pulsed with alien life, and the air hummed with the songs of creatures whose forms could tear a human apart in seconds. Yet despite the constant threat, Sergeant Cale Thorne moved with the careful precision that had kept him alive through 3 Deathworld
Sergeant
campaigns.
Cale Thorne
His mission
moved
this
with
time
the
was
careful
diplomatic,
precision that had
bordering on
kept him alive through 3
assist the planetary
Deathworld
delegation of the
campaigns.
Alari.
His mission this time was diplomatic, bordering on reconnaissance,
and a reputation for both
assist
wisdom
the
and
planetary delegation
It was
of
not
the
diplomacy,
Alari,
however,
a species of
that brought Cale
towering,
face to face with Queen
six-limbed
Selara,
sentients
ruler
with
of the
translucent
Alari.
skin
That encounter
and a
happened because
reputation
bullets and
for
plasma
both
bolts
wisdom
do not
and
discriminate
ruthlessness.
between negotiators
It
and
was not
assassins.
diplomacy,
Cale
however,
had been leading a small
that
team
brought
through the
Cale
rain-soaked
face to
canopy of
face with
Vaerath's
Queen
jungle when an
Selara,
ambush struck.
ruler
A
of
rogue
the
faction of
Alari.
Alari insurgents,
That encounter happened
opposed to
because
Selara's rule,
bullets
had
and
attacked
plasma
without
bolts
warning.
do not
Plasma
discriminate
fire
between
seared through the mist,
negotiators and
sending glowing motes
assassins.
drifting across
Cale
the
had been
massive
leading a
ferns.
small team
Cale
through
had
the
been trained for
rain-soaked
situations
canopy
like
of
this,
Vaerath's
but
jungle
nothing could have
when an
prepared him for the
ambush
Queen herself
struck
appearing,
a rogue
pinned
faction
beneath
of
the shattered
Alari
frame of her
insurgents
ceremonial hover
opposed to
platform.
Selara's
A plasma
rule
lance
had
embedded in her
attacked
thigh.
without warning.
The moment Cale
Plasma
saw her,
fire
his mind
seared
didn't
through the
race
mist,
with the usual battlefield
sending
calculations.
glowing motes drifting
It froze.
across the massive
She
ferns.
was magnificent.
Cale
even
had
in
been
pain.
trained for
Her
situations like
translucent
this,
skin glimmered with
but
pulsating
nothing could have prepared
bioluminescence,
him for the
marking
Queen
her
herself
status among the
appearing,
Alari.
pinned
She was
beneath
tall,
the shattered
impossibly
frame
elegant,
of her
her 6
ceremonial
arms
hover
poised in agony.
platform,
Yet
a
even
plasma
wounded, she
lance
carried an aura of
embedded in her
authority that
thigh.
dwarfed the
The
insurgents'
moment
bravado.
Cale saw her,
Cale dropped
his
his
mind
pack,
didn't race
ignoring the
with the
gunfire,
usual
and
battlefield
sprinted to her side.
calculations.
Queen
It
Selara,
froze.
he shouted.
She was
Though he had
magnificent,
no expectation
even in
she
pain.
understood.
Her
Hands trained in
translucent
battlefield
skin
triage
glimmered
moved
with
on instinct,
pulsating
cutting away shredded
bioluminescence,
armor and assessing
marking
the
her
plasma
status
wound.
among the
"You
Alari.
human," she gasped.
She was tall,
her voice melodic
impossibly
yet edged with
elegant,
controlled fury.
her 6
"Why are you
arms
here?"
poised in agony.
"Because you're not going
Yet
to die,"
even
Cale
wounded,
said,
she
kneeling
carried
beside
an
her.
aura
He
of
applied
authority
a thermal dressing
that
to
dwarfed
stabilize
the
burn
insurgents'
marks.
bravado.
"I don't care
Cale
who sent
dropped
me.
his pack,
You live."
ignoring
Her
the
6
gunfire,
eyes, large
and
and
sprinted to
unblinking,
her side.
studied him,
Queen
assessing,
Selara,
measuring,
he
as
shouted,
if she could peer
though
into the
he
core
had
of his
no
being.
expectation
Cale had
she
faced
understood.
Deathworld predators,
Hands
Xylith
trained in
raiders,
battlefield
and nuclear-scorched
triage moved on
wastelands,
instinct,
but none of them
cutting
had judged
away
him with the
shredded
intensity
armor
of a queen who
and
could end worlds
assessing
with
the
a flick of her
plasma
mind.
wound.
"You touch
"You
me,"
human,"
she whispered,
she
a tremor
gasped,
passing through her
her
limbs.
voice
"And
melodic
you
yet
risk."
edged
Her
with
words
controlled
faltered under
fury.
the pain. "Don't
"Why are
worry
you
about
here?"
me," he said firmly,
"Because you're not
suppressing
going
the
to
creeping
die,"
tension in his
Cale
own chest.
said, kneeling
"Focus on
beside
staying
her.
alive.
He applied
Let
a
me
thermal
worry about
dressing to
everything
stabilize
else."
the burn
She
marks.
stiffened as his hands
"I
moved
don't
to
care
secure
who
the
sent
wound
me.
dressing,
You
instinctively
live."
pulling back one of her
Her
upper
6
limbs,
eyes,
a gesture
large
that conveyed
and
both vulnerability
unblinking,
and warning.
studied him,
Cale froze for a
assessing,
moment, realizing that
measuring,
the Queen's
as if
biology
she
and
could
culture
peer
were
into the
intertwined in
core
ways
of his
that went
being.
beyond human understanding.
Cale had faced
"You must
Deathworld
know,"
predators,
she hissed between
Xylith
breaths,
raiders,
"that
and
certain
nuclear-scorched
areas
wastelands,
are forbidden to anyone
but
but
none
my
of them had
consort."
judged him with the
Cale's
intensity
brow
of a
furrowed.
queen who could end
Consort.
worlds
Her
with a
gaze
flick of her
softened,
mind.
not entirely
"You
in
touch
warmth,
me,"
but in a
she
fragile
whispered,
admission of trust.
a tremor
"The one I
passing through
choose
her
to
limbs,
share.
and
My
you risk.
vulnerability.
Her
Only
words
he may
faltered
touch me
under the
there."
pain.
The statement
"Don't
hung
worry
in the
about
humid
me,"
jungle air
he
like
said
a living
firmly,
thing.
suppressing the
Cale realized that
creeping
he was
tension
doing more
in
than
his own
administering
chest.
first aid.
"Focus
He was
on
stepping into a
staying
sacred
alive.
space in her life.
Let me worry
a realm
about
reserved
everything
for
else."
someone she had not yet named.
She
or perhaps
stiffened
someone
as his
she had
hands
lost.
moved to
He
secure
looked
the
at her,
wound
calm
dressing,
and steady.
instinctively
"Then you'll live
pulling
until
back
she,
one of her
or
upper
he,
limbs,
arrives.
a
But
gesture
for
that
now,
conveyed
I
both
can only save you the
vulnerability
way
and
I know
warning.
how." A
Cale
flicker of
froze for a
amusement
moment,
crossed her features.
realizing that the
human
Queen's
has
biology
honor,
and
or
culture were
perhaps
intertwined
madness.
in ways that
"Maybe
went
both,"
beyond
Cale
human
replied,
understanding.
adjusting the dressing
"You
to stop
must
the bleeding.
know,"
"But
she
if I
hissed
let you
between
die,
breaths,
it won't matter
"that
which."
certain areas
several
are
tense
forbidden
minutes,
to
he
anyone
worked
but
in
my
silence.
consort."
Plasma burn
Cale's
cauterized
brow
the edges of her
furrowed.
wound, and
Consort.
Cale applied
Her
nanogel
gaze
patches
softened,
harvested from his medkit.
not entirely
The
in
insurgents'
warmth,
assault had
but
slowed,
in a
either
fragile
intimidated
admission
by
of
the Queen's
trust.
presence or the
"The
lethal
one I
display of
choose to
human
share,
efficiency.
my
They held
vulnerability.
back. When the
Only
final
he may
patch
touch
adhered to
me
her
there."
skin,
The
Queen
statement
Selara's
hung
breathing
in the
eased.
humid
She
jungle
regarded
air
Cale with
like a
something a living
heavier than
thing.
gratitude.
Kale realized
Something like
that he was doing more than administering
recognition.
first aid. He was stepping into a sacred space in her life, a realm reserved for someone she had not yet named, or perhaps someone she had lost. He looked at her, calm and steady. "Then you'll live until she or he arrives. But for now, I can only save you the way I know how." A flicker of amusement crossed her features. The human has honor. Or perhaps madness. "Maybe both," Cale replied, adjusting the dressing to stop the bleeding. "But if I let you die, it won't matter which." For several tense minutes, he worked in silence. Plasma burn cauterized the edges of her wound, and Cale applied nanogel patches harvested from his medkit. The insurgents' assault had slowed, either intimidated by the Queen's presence or the lethal display of human efficiency. They held back. When the final patch adhered to her skin, Queen Selara's breathing eased. She regarded Cale with something heavier than gratitude, something like comprehension or recognition. "You are unlike any human I have met," she murmured. "Fragile, yet you endure. Weak, yet you protect." Her limbs relaxed, though her upper body tensed slightly when Cale's hands brushed against the plasma wound one last time. "Because that's what humans do," Cale said quietly. "We walk through pain, face danger, and keep moving. It's not courage. It's habit." Her eyes flickered, unguarded for a fraction of a second, revealing vulnerability that could crush empires. "Perhaps the universe is kinder to those who carry their burden alone, or perhaps—" Her voice trailed off, leaving the thought unfinished. Cale understood that trust had been extended, not fully, but tentatively. He helped her to her feet, supporting her weight carefully. Each step she took was a silent defiance of her injury, yet it was clear that she was relying on him more than she was willing to admit. By the time the insurgents were fully repelled by the Queen's remaining guards and Cale's own squad, the air had shifted. Where there was once tension, now existed a cautious camaraderie. A human and an alien queen, bound by the shared experience of survival. Days later, the palace medbay was quiet except for the soft hum of life support systems. Queen Selara reclined on a suspended biobed, her wound fully healed under Cale's meticulous care. He checked the final systems on her regenerative dressings, ensuring no trace of infection remained. "You've done well, human," she said, voice gentle, carrying the faintest trace of humor. "I suppose I should call you my savior, or my healer." Cale shook his head. "Just someone who doesn't leave people to die. That's all I do." Her 6 eyes studied him. "And yet, you have earned something more than mere survival." "What's that?" he asked, cautious. "The knowledge of me that few may hold," she said softly, leaning back. "The areas I guard not out of fear, but out of choice. You've touched my pain and walked forward. You are remarkable." Cale blinked, understanding finally settling in. It wasn't just about a battlefield or a wound. It was about respect, about the unspoken agreement between life and trust, and about the rare privilege of entering a space reserved for the Queen's consort, a space he might never fully claim, but had proven capable of approaching. "I'm honored," he said, choosing words carefully. "But you survive because you fight, not because I touched your wound." She inclined her head, a gesture almost human in its simplicity. "Perhaps. But it is not often that a human walks where others flinch." And in that quiet, reflective moment, Cale realized why legends spoke of the Ilari as untouchable monarchs. They were sovereigns in body and spirit, But even the strongest could recognize a human's courage, this strange resilience of a species that thrived on worlds that sought to kill them. Epilogue. Weeks later, the palace gardens were alive with bioluminescent blooms, reflecting the soft light of Verath IX's twin moons. Kale walked alongside Selara, unarmed and without armor, carrying only the memory of the bond forged under fire. "You will leave soon," Selara said, her voice carrying the weight of inevitability. "And perhaps we will never meet again in such circumstances." "Perhaps," Kale replied, "but I will remember." She regarded him for a long moment, then allowed herself a small smile. "As will I, human. As will I. You have walked through pain with me, and that is a rare gift." Their hands brushed, a fleeting touch that was neither possession nor command, but recognition, a silent acknowledgement that the human soldier had walked where few dared. And Kale understood then, fully, that heroism was not about strength or weapons. It was about enduring, about walking beside those in pain, and about earning the trust of those who could have crushed him in an instant. As the twin moons rose high above the garden, Kale and Queen Selara walked together, silent but unbroken, bound by survival and respect, and the knowledge that sometimes the universe allowed humans to touch places few others could reach.